Yo, this is Derrick from Sepultura, and you're watching Over Music. I grew up in a very musical household. Everyone in my house had to learn to play music growing up, my brother and sisters and I. My mother was a music teacher. She played classical music, and she also played gospel music in the church. But my introduction to heavy music, heavy metal music, came about because of my friends in the neighborhood. They all loved rock and roll. They were into AC/DC, Black Sabbath, Iron Maiden, Judas Priest. So that was a big influence for me right at a very, very young age. So Sepultura was something that came about because of the pandemic, and we wanted to stay in touch with fans and also with ourselves as a band. So we decided to meet every Wednesday, jam Sepultura songs. Then we decided to involve other people, other artists, friends of ours, to play Sepultura songs. Then it grew even larger to invite people or non-profit organizations or organizations that we felt strongly about and talking with them and creating a whole show around it every Wednesday. The recording process was pretty simple. We had to really do everything from our own homes. So we weren't planning on doing an album in the very beginning. It grew into that. So what we would do is we record the drums. Eloy would record drums first, then guitar. Then Andreas would send me the track to do vocals, and he'd also send the track to Paulo. We would do that, and then we'd record everything live. It was pretty simple. You know, once we got the hang of it, Andreas would mix everything, and it ended up turning out to be something very special. And once we had all the material, that's when we decided, hey, maybe we should do an album with this. For me, the cover and Sepultura represent hope. Music brings about so much hope in times of grief and struggle. So I believe we were doing something that was very positive for all our fans and for ourselves as well. You know, it's like I was saying, it's the best way that we could stay connected during such difficult times. But I believe that the album represents those special times, you know, pulling out the positive in those times and being able to deal with it. When we first started doing Sepultura, I thought it would be impossible for me to really get into doing videos at home and recording at home in my bedroom. I wasn't used to that. I didn't have the proper equipment, but I made do with what I had. And I grew into really getting excited about it because it was something new and getting out of my comfort zone. So I got into it over time, and recording with other artists, I mean, it was really pretty simple. They got to do what they needed to do in their own environment, in their own space. But over time, I was really looking forward to each Wednesday because I'm a person that's very used to playing in front of people, playing live music, and having that energy from the audience, from the fans coming back and then giving that energy directly face to face. But in difficult times, you got to do what you can do. And that's what we did, you know, and I got used to it, and I got excited about wanting to hear what every artist was going to do on the tracks. So that was pretty cool. In the end, the result was phenomenal. It was always better than I imagined. Before joining Sepultura, I studied a little bit at the Music Institute in Cleveland, studying classical music. Then when I joined the band, I went to a vocal coach who taught me how to maintain my voice when touring came about. So this was phenomenal lessons that I needed to really learn how to use my diaphragm to project my voice. That came from classical music. And then with the vocal coach, I learned how to preserve my voice on the road by doing warm-ups and warm-downs and do's and don'ts. So this has always stuck with me, And it's helped tremendously touring and traveling the world because, knock on wood, I've never lost my voice on tour and had to cancel a show. So it's been working for over 20 years. Joining Sepultura was an intense process. I was living in New York and a friend of mine was working at Sepultura's record label. He had just started there. They were looking for a new singer and they had a demo tape going around with one song with no vocals. He approached me and asked if I would be interested in doing a song, an audition for Sepultura. I'd be interested in being in the band. So I got the tape. There was one song with no vocals and everyone was given this tape all around the world. They were looking for anyone from any country that could do this demo as far as putting their own voice there, writing their own lyrics, and creating a song without them being around, just on their own, being able to do this. So I went to the studio and recorded my version of the song, doing vocals, putting my lyrics, and then I heard back from them. And they asked me to come to Brazil to do a live audition. So I never been to South America. After I got the response from them, I had to fly out to Brazil within a week. It was insane. I knew nothing about the culture really. I never heard Portuguese being spoken, let alone know it was being spoken around me. So I flew to Sao Paulo, Brazil, stayed for 2 weeks to do the audition. Half of the time was spent in the studio and the other half was getting to know them and their family. So it was really an intense situation because I'd never met them before. I was used to jamming with people that I was friends with, and these guys had such a long and successful career. But once we got in the studio, it became relevant that it was more difficult than I imagined. I think this was all in my head just because of the situation being so overwhelming. So after a few days of really not feeling that comfortable, I had a talk with the bass player, Paulo, and he said that I should really go for it. Don't hold back anything, and this is an opportunity, and shouldn't really let it slip away. So once we got back in the studio again, I began to open up more. I believe we did a Bad Brains cover from the band Bad Brains, and that loosened me up because it's one of my favorite bands. And then once I got back to New York, I really started to have that feeling that I wanted to go back to Brazil. I wanted to really be a part of the band because I got to meet everyone and I had a taste of what it would be like being in Brazil. And that process took about a month before I heard back from the band. And then they asked me to come back and if I was interested in starting to work on our first album, which was Against. The writing process or thinking of lyrics or ideas for lyrics, I had this experience before I joined Sepultura. I played in a few bands growing up. I started playing music when I was 15. So what I like to write about are things that are happening around me, things that I'm feeling socially. Certain books, movies have a lot of influence, especially talking with people that has a great impact. Learning different cultures, being in certain environments, all these elements really influence how the writing process will go or what I want to write about. A lot of times I bounce things off of Andreas or vice versa, and we go from there. A lot of things that have meaning to us that we have an understanding of or maybe don't have an understanding of, but we want to learn more about it. So a lot of times taking deep dives into certain topics, books, movies, and really going as far as we can with a certain topic that we truly believe in. Of course, I think everyone has bad experiences in life, so I would definitely have that being on the road. But you know what? Each bad experience you have to deal with, and how you come out on top of those experiences what really matters. There have been times where when I first joined the band, it was very difficult being the new person and having to deal with that pressure. But with all that pressure, it really helped to make us stronger, to really grow as a band. And without those experiences, I don't think we would be here today. It's a label that really has helped us evolve in so many ways by giving us freedom to write what we want to write and believing in us. When I first joined the band, the first label dealings that I had with our past label were horrible. At least there was a few people at that old label that really believed in me, and I thank them for that. But there was a part of that label that was also very negative, and it didn't help the situation. I didn't understand where they were coming from with the lack of team support and effort that you expect from a label that you're signed to. We were happy to be released, to not have to continue with people who are sitting on the fence or kind of not understanding where you come from. But with Nuclear Blast, they really understood where we were coming from and where we could go. And that belief really helped us to create so many great albums with them. And meeting Marcus, the main person from Nuclear Blast, really clicked well. He understood the whole hardcore and punk rock background, which I came from, which was enlightening. You know, it was really cool to hear that. And working with them has just been a great experience. You know, they always have people there at the label who believe in heavy music, and they have a fond love of it. So that support goes a long way, and it's a great team of people, and I'm proud to be on the label. My favorite Sepultura album that I've been on would be Quadra, of course. It's the last studio album that we put out, and I'm extremely proud of it. I'm really looking forward to playing these songs live, but I'm proud of everyone that was a part of the album, and I feel that every Sepultura album that we've done has led to this, and without those albums, this album wouldn't exist, Quadra. So for me, it's really various elements of our past, but it's definitely something I'm extremely proud of. The current situation with touring is very frustrating because nobody really knows what's going on or what can happen, and that can be very nerve-wracking. But we have to really try our best to keep everyone safe and try to be as understanding as possible. Just really make things work, but without hurting people. So hoping that these shows will happen in Europe that we have planned November, December. Things are going well so far, and I just hope that we're able to stay on path as far as being able to do those shows, and then also North America to do those shows as well. So it's really out of our hands a lot of times, so to stress about it is pointless, but I just definitely want to stay positive, and for me the biggest concern is that people will be safe at these shows.